Do you have regrets? Frank Sinatra crooned those words. Regrets, I've had a few. And then later on he says in that song, but I did it my way. Well, let me tell you, doing it my way left me with a mountain of regret. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about what I would say to my younger self, 5 things that I would tell my younger self if I could go back in time and just warn her and let her know not to follow the path that she did and end up with a mountain of regret. So first of all, I would say choose your friends wisely. Now, this holds true even for us as we're older. We should be choosing our friends wisely. And, you know, our mother or our father always said to us, if your friends jumped off a cliff, would you jump off the cliff too? We would roll our eyes, of course, as teenagers and just say, oh, mom, or oh, dad, and just go on our merry way. But there's wisdom in that. As cliche as it sounds, there is wisdom in those words. If your friends were to jump off a cliff, would you jump off a cliff too? It's so true. And I made such mistakes. I was growing up in the 70s. I was a wild child. Some of it was my own doing, of course, just teenage rebellion. Some of it was the era that I grew up in. Peace, love, dove, burn the bra, yeah, and on and on. It was a different time, that's for sure. Hitchhiking all over the place and doing all sorts of things that could have landed me in a world of hurt, and actually did land me in a world of hurt, but could have been a lot worse than it ended up being. I'm still here. So there's that. But also some of it was what was done to me. And a lot of that was beyond my control. And so that is something that if I could tell my younger self that you didn't deserve that. You didn't deserve what happened to you, and you were worth loving. So that is the first thing that I would say. Secondly, I would say don't pick the bad boy. The bad boy might seem, or the hot girl, okay? The bad boy, in my case, I'm a woman, so I'll say the bad boy. He seems exciting, he seems charming, he might be very charismatic and all of that, but nah, it's not such a great idea. Good looks and adventure do not always equal a good personality. And often somebody who is very charismatic has all the girls after them or all the boys after them, and you just end up being left in the dust. You can be replaced with the old girlfriend all of a sudden showing back up and wanting that guy again, or you can be replaced with something better that comes along. So what I would say is remember that there are really wonderful people out there that maybe don't fit that whole persona of being popular, being the best looking guy in the room or the best looking girl in the room, but that are fun and are engaging and have a lot to offer, and not to be to be someone who just writes them off. And so I would tell my younger self, don't pick that bad boy, whatever you do. It's not worth it. You're going to get your heart broken. Also, just to treat yourself with some kindness, and most of all with respect. We need to be able to respect ourselves enough to say, okay, is this going to end in disaster for me? Is this going to end in a broken heart? Is this going to end badly for me? And I deserve more than that. Unfortunately, when I was growing up, I didn't think I deserved more. I was just looking for that person to love me in that, if it was just in that moment. And, but then of course I would end up falling for that person, and they didn't necessarily feel the same way about me. And so that was there again, a lesson I would say to myself, just be kind to yourself. Treat yourself with some respect, and just know that you're worth loving. Number 3, I would say take your education seriously, Barb. Oh my goodness. I was the party girl. All I cared about was my friends. All I cared about was having a good time. I did not fit in with the sports crowd. I was not what we would call back in the 70s a jock. Okay. I knew I was smart, but I just didn't want to apply myself. I was too busy having fun with my friends, to be honest, and too busy partying. And so I was always the one that could get by with just doing the minimal and still getting a passing grade. But in the long run, the consequences of that, of course, were that I didn't get my matriculation. And so I could not go on to university because of that, and had to settle for less than what I should have. I guess I could have gone back to school, but I had such a low self-esteem in those days and really felt that all that I could do was have lots of friends. That was the thing that made me worthwhile, was to have lots of friends and to party. I don't know. Like I say, it was a different era back then. It was the era of sex and drugs and rock and roll. It was, oh, yeah. If I could go back and do it all over again, I would do it differently. I really would. And I would not probably have gotten as hurt as often as I did in the process, and not have hurt myself as much, because I ended up with some addiction issues that I had to deal with later on down the road. And, you know, had I been smarter, I could have saved myself a lot of grief, a lot of pain and suffering, really. And so, yes, I would tell myself to just take your education seriously. And also, though, at the same time, what you do does not equal who you are. So consequently, because I didn't end up going to university and getting a degree, I always thought of myself as less than. And that was just something that dogged me my whole life. I mean, what good was that? I mean, I was smart enough. There was nothing wrong with my brain. It was just my motivation at the time when I was young. It wasn't there. It wasn't for school. It was for friends and partying. And so then later on in life, I always felt like I wasn't as good as my peers or the people that I worked with that were higher up on the corporate ladder than I was, and that I just didn't, I didn't cut it somehow, which was ridiculous. It was just bad choices that I regret. But I can't go back and fix them. I can't go back now and change that period of my life. I can just go forward from here and learn from my mistakes. Number 4 is to pursue the things that you love and that bring you joy, whether that's sports, crafting, art, music, whatever it is. As a teenager, again, I was just completely laser focused on my friends. And later on in life, I learned how to play the guitar. I picked up my flute again after 25 years and started playing it. And I had lots of musical ability. I could have gone and done something with that. But instead, I was partying, having a good time, but consequently feeling horrible about myself and feeling like I really didn't have any worth. And yet I can sing, I can play the guitar, I can play the flute. I have a lot of gifts that I've been given. Luckily, because of my faith and just deciding later on in life that I was going to do those things, I ended up using those gifts eventually. But I mean, it was a long time later. I was 38 when I picked up the guitar, so it's a long time. From 16 to 38, that's a long time. So it's not like I never did realize that those gifts, I could have done it a lot earlier than that. You're never too old to learn something new. If there's something that you've always wanted to do and you think you're too old at this point to do it, in some cases, I mean, you might be too old. You might have arthritis or something and you can't go jump out of an airplane. But there might be something that you want to do. You want to take up crocheting or knitting, or you want to learn about engines, or you want to do something that you've never done before. Why not? YouTube exists so that you can learn all sorts of new things. Look at me. I'm doing a YouTube channel at 66 years old, right? And let me tell you, it's a learning curve. You have to learn how to record. You have to be comfortable with recording. You have to learn how to edit. You have to learn how to export your video, and then you put it up. You have to learn how to do a thumbnail. You have to learn how to do a description that is going to be catchy and that's going to draw people, because there's millions of YouTube channels out there. So there's a lot of thought and preparation that goes into making a YouTube video. You don't just sit down and then just upload it and you're done. There's a lot of thought and preparation. If you want your video to be seen, you have to do the steps to make it seen. And so that's something that I have learned as I've been going here in the last few months, and so it's a learning curve. But I just decided I wanted to do that. And so that's what I did. And so you can do something too. You can start a YouTube channel if you want. Doesn't matter if you're 60, 80, 30, 40, whatever age you are. If there's something that you want to share and you think that might be of benefit to others, start a YouTube channel. See where it goes. Anyway, so number 5 is don't settle. Your past does not define you. We tend to carry around a lot of baggage from our past, things that have been done to us, things that we've done to others. I think that we need to take steps to make right the things that we may have done to others. If we can contact somebody and say, I'm really sorry for that, that's a wonderful thing. It frees you up. It frees the other person up. We need to be able to forgive those who have hurt us in the past. It doesn't mean that we excuse what they did to us, but we can choose to forgive that person as an act of our will, so that it's no longer something that is going to affect us. Doesn't mean we have to have a relationship with that person. What we have to do is come to the place where we don't wish any harm on that person. We don't want revenge on them. We don't want to see them, anything bad happen to them. We just choose as an act of our will to forgive them, and realizing that in doing that, we're letting that go and allowing ourselves the freedom of having it off of our shoulders. We don't have to live with our regrets, bemoaning them all the time and just thinking we're worth nothing because we have all these regrets. You know what? They're in the past. We can't change them. Like I said before, all we can do is move forward. And this is our time to be wise. Wisdom comes with age. Had I listened to my mother and my father saying, if all your friends were going to jump off that cliff, would you follow them? If I'd listened to them way back then in their wisdom, a lot of these things wouldn't have dogged me for so many years. But the fact of the matter is that most teenagers are rebellious and don't listen to their parents, or a lot of them are that way. But we don't stay stuck. We are not supposed to stay in our rebellion when we get old. We are not a rebellious teenager anymore. We're old. And so now it's our turn to have the wisdom to share with others and to hopefully grow in what we've learned and to help others to grow because of what we've learned. And I know that sometimes it can feel like nobody cares about what our opinion is. And in some cases, they don't care. They're going to do what they're going to do, and they're going to make their mistakes. But you know what? If I had never made the mistakes I made, I wouldn't be the person I am today. I wouldn't have the children I have today if I hadn't married the husband that I did that didn't end well. But if I hadn't married him, I wouldn't have my children. I wouldn't have my grandchildren. If I hadn't done all those stupid things as a teenager, I wouldn't have necessarily known how to come alongside somebody else and help them through the mess that they're making in their lives, or maybe give them some good advice in their life. So we can make lemonade out of our lemons, or we can let our lemons ruin our lives. What's the sense of that? We might as well take those lemons and make lemonade and say, okay, what can I learn? What can I not do in going forward? How can I react to people in a kind and loving way so that I don't have regrets? How can I forgive people? Is there someone I need to make amends with? We can take the steps that we need to take in order to have a life with less regret. So I don't want to do it my way. I want to do it God's way. I want to do it in a way that brings joy and peace and brings life into relationships that perhaps have been broken. and brings forgiveness. And it is something that I can go to my grave knowing and having peace about those relationships and how my life has ended and what kind of legacy I'm going to leave behind. So that's all I've got for you today. I thank you so much for joining me. And I would really like to hear in the comment section if you have a lot of regrets and, what you're doing about them to see them turn around and, maybe letting them go, or how you've managed those regrets in your own life and what you're going to do going forward so that they don't define your life, define who you are, and keep you stuck, because you don't want to be stuck. So thank you again for joining me. My name is Barb. This is My Intentional Retired Life. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're returning, welcome back. And I hope to see you again soon. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.